Everybody, yeah, listen up. Welcome to the Churros, we about to drop another fat intro, hit you with the slop. We know you like that goodness, eat that sticky grub. Make sure that you dip them in the cup. They come out so nice, hot and steamy with the chocolate top. But man, I can't even cup, I need to stop. All this chatter got me flattered, it's gon' flat me flop. Alright, yeah, steady, here we go. We about to start this funky show, so let it flow. Coming from the two most underrated duos are the two journals, Kiyan and the D-I-E-G-O. So grab a seat and chill your dome. Listen to my low baritone voice go. I like to take things easy, nice and slow. Nothing better, get some weather, so let's start the churros. So let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. We are here and Diego Lorijn is here for the first time in I don't know how many days. I lost count. Diego basically just moved away and then came back like as if nothing happened. But he knows he has a seat here and he goes to Ibiza. He parties for 10 days. He's got a huge tan and he's back with a big smile. So welcome back, Diego. It wasn't the same without you. We need the hype back, man. How you doing?
Hey, I missed you guys. I'll be honest. I missed you guys. I want to thank you as well, Kiyan, for holding down the fort while I was gone and being gracious enough to sort of, give me peace of mind and say, go enjoy, don't sweat it. Because I was sweating it. I was sweated upon arrival and I realized just how bad the connection truly was. We were indeed tucked away in the north of Ibiza where there was basically no connection. I've been sort of disconnected, literally and figuratively, I suppose, from the world for the past 12 days actually. And I'm happy to be back. Happy to talk football. Happy to talk Barça Madrid. Talk about Liga. Talk about transfers. So much to talk about. So much to discuss. So much, of course, that we haven't been discussing. So I'm eager to know your impressions of this team match under Xavi Hernandez, and I'm ready to get into it, man. Again, thank you to all listeners for putting up with Kiyan by himself. And Kiyan, again, thank you to you as well for keeping it real on Churros.
Well, I did 2 episodes, one by myself for patrons over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas, and another one with Sam Leverage. And we talked about Atletico. So the free one we did with Sam, we talked about.
Nice.
That was around the time where Atletico fans, the ultras, were fighting with the players. Remember at the Metropolitano at the end. You may not even have known about that because you were under the Ibiza sun.
I caught a glimpse of it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were talking about all the issues with Atletico. Of course, since then there was an incredible game on Monday, Atletico versus Valencia. That first half in particular was amazing. I don't know if I've enjoyed a 0-0 that much in a while, where it's like Simeone versus Gattuso, the fire, the Mestalla was on fire. There was just a lot of things happening, some controversy, some calls, some just great moments, and I enjoyed it. So that was a great showcase for La Liga. And of course, what does La Liga do? Puts on a dead-ass Monday night, which, like, I don't know. Is that a good thing? Maybe it's a good thing because no one else is doing anything on Monday night. They're just watching that game. So maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. So yeah, we had that happen. One of those classic cases of I don't know where to start on churros, but I did want to ask you about Ibiza. I've never been there. That's a place you take your family, because I saw one of your Instagram stories. There was some trance music, some parties, and some sunsets. Where were your kids at that time? Or maybe it wasn't as maybe it's more kid friendly than I imagined it.
It is. It totally is. I mean, of course, the reputation of Ibiza as the party island. It's the island where you do crazy things. But quite frankly, I specified that I was up north of the island, and that is predominantly known for its hippie culture. There's a massive hippie culture in Ibiza, probably one that gets overshadowed by the, what I refer to as the party, the more house ravey, drugs. Not to say that the hippies don't do drugs, so that's maybe not the right.
You just described every single thing that hippies do: house music and drugs. No offense to all the hippies listening to this.
Well, look, I mean, it's a lot more chill. It's a lot more. You can get away from all that madness that is characterized, that Ibiza is characterized for, especially, I guess, in the media, social media, or by people that haven't really experienced Ibiza to its fullest. And I can tell you, having been my third time to the island, and the first time as a family man, that it's got absolutely tons to offer for families and kids. You know, if as long as you don't shy away from a little bit of music or you know, people being happy to be on the island, you know, it's nothing shocking to me. So that post that you were referring to is actually it was a great afternoon where on Sundays, at that particular beach where I was, on Sundays, for sunset, they have these percussionists come out with their bongos and congos, and they have a half-hour countdown, basically, of just percussion sounds and music as the sun sets, and once the sun dips, you know, there's a little bit of vibe, but it's nothing insane, it's nothing crazy, and it's I would say very family friendly. Again, for my family. I don't know if other families, you know, maybe more prude families or families that are not so used to being exposed to nothing bad, you know, nothing bad, just a bit of dancing, just good vibes. Yeah, exactly. So, no, we had a lot of fun. It was a great time. We, you know, like I said, I avoided all of the madness that happens further down south in San Antonio, and which is where, you know, the club scene is very rife, and that's where you sort of more see the crazy Brits that are, you know, 24 hours of the day drunk and smashed and loud, and that is easily avoidable, and I highly recommend you or our listeners to go there with or without their families, because it's just a beautiful island that has so much more to offer than just that party scene that, you know, we were just describing. So when it comes to beaches, you know, sceneries, just very, I would say, it's got a very special energy. It's got a very good vibe to it. People are very friendly, and by that I mean the locals and also people, you know, visiting the island. So, go there with an open mind, go there with an open heart, and just enjoy it. And because there's really a lot to enjoy, much more than just, you know, the late night club scene.
Well, just that story you posted was everything I love. I was highly jealous because I like that sunset was magical. I mean, usually it's hard to do sunsets justice on like a camera phone or something, but the bright orange bulb, the fullness of the orange ball, the way it was setting, and then there was the music. That's my favorite thing in life. I don't need money. I don't need anything. I just need to be in. I just need to experience that more. I would like to have that moment that you had. You
said it, sir. You said it, man. And dude, you kind of painting that picture and making me reflect on that scene. It's today was the first day back in the office. I want to post a question to you, Kiyan, because you, like my wife, like two of my closest friends, have the extreme luxury, I would say, to work remote, work from home. My question is, you know, what is stopping you from, for example, moving to such a paradise and doing your work from there? Is it, you know, it's the first day in the office is always tough, and in some offices more than others. We'll go into more detail off camera if you want. But yeah, it's like, it would be it's almost like a mission, like a challenge that I've put to myself to at some point in time be able to say, you know what, we're packing up our stuff. And I love Barcelona, but I would love to at least have the option to say, maybe not full time, and that's tough when you have kids, of course. And maybe I'm still in the whole Ibiza mode, and I'm being unrealistic. But just say, you know what, we're moving there. We're moving there. We're going to live on the island. We're going to live an island lifestyle, and that'll be the end of it.
Well, I imagine that the reason why your wife can't do that is because the same reason that I can't. It's that family, and like you have a job in Barcelona, so I think that's probably something that's on the list to do. Like it would, like, so for example, if we were to move, my wife can't, like, she's a social worker, right? So she
Okay.
can't just like relearn everything, relearn the language, go to school again and do that in Spain. So it would basically, she would either have to completely change her career or just not work for a bit, right? And so to do that, there's some logistical barriers to doing that. But for me, like that's why it's kind of bittersweet because I travel so much. I have to do a lot of work, but I like to go out in nature as much as I can. And so that's the only thing that kind of sucks when you're going to Madrid mostly and not other places is like, it's nice. It's really fun being there. But at the same time, you just wish you could kind of go to the more nature zones and nature spots, which I don't get to do often. But yeah, I digress. Let's talk about football.
But well, one more question though. But you said, I was mentioning the case of my wife, and I was putting you in that group as well because you guys work remote. You have the luxury to work from home. And you mentioned that your wife obviously is a social worker, so she doesn't. But what if you say, baby, it's all good. Follow me. Let's do it. Let's go to the woods. Let's go to that the house and that, what do you call it? Not the chalet, your outhouse. I don't know, your town.
Not an outhouse.
Away from.
Outhouse is not appealing thing to invite someone to. I don't know,
cottage.
Cottage.
I was looking for it. I was looking for the word cottage.
Well, the reality is that social workers, it may not seem that way, but they make a pretty decent amount of money because it's a field that no one wants to do because it's a very stressful job. There's a lot of turnover in it. But the ones who stay get a lot of government benefits. They get paid really, really well. And she does child intake, which is the one that absolutely nobody wants to do, right? So, anyways, so that's that. So yeah, but to your point, that's part of the future goals. Is like, you know, in a year or two, if I can get to that level, then that's the plan.
You would like to?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah. But I don't know. Like the thing is, now this is a weird one. I actually kind of like being here in the sense that I can get on a plane and go, you know, West Coast US or West Coast Canada, or, you know, and I'm actually closer to Spain than I am to the other side of Canada. That's how big Canada is. And so it's a quick flight also to Spain. It's not that bad. It's like six and a half hours, I think, from Toronto.
6 is not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But at the same time, instead of, you know, going to, you know, I think I'm going basically to the biggest games of the month. So September, I'll be at the Leipzig game, Champions League, and then the game at the Metropolitano, the Derby. October, I have Classico, and then something else I'll do. But instead of doing 1 or 2 games a month, I could be doing every single game nonstop. And I don't know, I feel like this is a weird thing, and I don't know how you would feel about this. You might relate, you might not, because, you know, you're in Barcelona all the time. The charm of Madrid has been I've been desensitized to it over time. There's only so much you can do in Madrid if you're there constantly. And I know every single nook and cranny of that place. There's only so many cafes I can sit at and be like, wow, this is amazing. There's not really any nature things to do apart from Retiro. You got to get out of the city. I don't know. I guess the appeal would be if you live there, you can start doing, instead of like, you know, flights to here and there in the US and Canada, and you would actually, you know, drive to Valencia, or take a quick, go to Ibiza, go to other places in Europe. I think that's the appeal of you. But the charm of Madrid itself is kind of lost on me now, to be quite honest with you.
Interesting that. Well, let's see, man. Let's see where this journey takes us. I just wanted to bring it up because, you know, again, to reiterate that point, you work from home. I don't know if you know what first day back in offices feel like, but it's holiday hangovers. Man, it's tough. It's again, I gotta talk about it off.
I will say, like, it's really weird. Like, if you followed me, like, if someone just like watched me work all day, they'd be shocked at how much above what my day looks like. It's really ridiculous. It makes no sense. And people, I think people get triggered by it a lot because, like, if I'm posting stories of like playing basketball or like drinking coffee, or like it's like you wake up, you make a coffee, you go for a walk, you open up your laptop, check the news, go play basketball, go to the gym, and it's like record a podcast, rush home for the podcast, work on your article a little bit, check, okay, like plan out the podcast. And it's like, it just, people who are very close to me, like my close friends or even family members, get triggered by it because like they just look at that and be like, do you work? Like, or things like, you can't hang out or you can't do this because you're doing this. I'm like, and it's impossible to explain to people unless you really get it. But for me, playing basketball is work, because if I don't do that, I can't come back and write an article. And so I count it as the work day. Like 9 to 5, I need to go to the gym. It's part of my work, because if I don't go to the gym, then I can't do a podcast with a peace of mind. It's okay. It's all part of the process, and it's very hard to explain to people. And
sure, but that's a luxury. You understand that, because somebody that's stuck in an office would 100%. Love to play some ball or go to the 100%. Gym or go for a walk and be like, and then tell their boss, I'm doing work.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm very lucky to be able to say that for sure. But
that's great. And that's I think more and more. I want to say that post-pandemic, people are more and more striving towards that. The whole working remote, working from home. I think since the pandemic has sort of become like almost a must. It's like a prerequisite for people applying to a job. It's like, but can I work from home? If not, then I'm not interested, and I understand. I think it can be a lot more productive as well. You don't have to deal with office politics. You don't have to deal with office dickheads, and go back into that routine, which can be very, it can suck the soul, the life out of you. And
if it's the wrong people, for sure. Like, yeah. Like, I'm very extroverted, so I kind of actually get lonely and isolated working remotely. To be quite honest. So, but at the same time, if it's not people you enjoy being around, I can see that being very draining as well. I can see it being very energizing. Like, if you got to choose who you work with, like let's say Diego, like my dream is to have a studio in Spain where like people like you could just come in and go. We could hang out. We could just record. We have a big setup. We could live stream, but that we just do that all day with people we like hanging out with and talking trash to.
Yeah.
That's something that's my goal, is to do something like that, where like 100%. You actually get to be around people you love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. I would love that.
I'm working on it.
Give me some of that.
It's a 2-year plan. I'm working on it. Check in with me.
All right.
But we'll talk off air. Well,
okay.
Listen,
okay,
like
cool.
Coming back to the office, like what was the thing that, I don't know, you were most excited to talk about again, or that struck you like, oh, this happened when I was away, I didn't get to talk about it? Was there anything that stood out?
With people in the office, or with
No, I mean just like in general, that like you personally, like you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, just Barca, man. I mean, I've been very excited following the results. And I say following the results because, again, we were so remote that it was difficult to follow and stream any other game. It was, I just gave up at some point. So I've seen the highlights. I've read the chronicles, the match, post-match chronicles, and, obviously lapped up everything that was available to lap up when it came to the way that this team is evolving. I'm referring to Barca, of course, under Xavi Hernandez, Lewandowski, Rafinha, Dembele, all just, and great to see Marc-Andre ter Stegen as well, being clinical under the 3 sticks, or in between the 3 sticks. And so I was excited to bounce all of that off of the people and get to know your impressions as well, and kind of find out if it's the real deal. Because actually yesterday I got to speak to it first with my dad, and he was actually very he kind of dampened my excitement. He was like, yeah, well, you can see that Xavi still hasn't really figured it out, and you can see that the players are not really understanding what he wants, or who is fixed, which starting 11 he wants to choose, which players he's counting on, which ones he's not. And I was like, oh, well, that's from what you're telling me, that's not really the impression that I got. It seemed like, this team is exciting, fans, and they're playing good football, and kind of pressing, in this case, or in the most recent case, Valladolid back into their half, and just being kind of the way that we wanted, different from, for example, what we saw in Rayo Vallecano, where I was very open and critical about how this team approached that match, and it was sort of felt like, I use that word that I like to use, that urgency that was missing. It felt like, particularly against, both against Real Sociedad and Valladolid, that was back and had returned in Xavi's squad. So, am I, who's right here? Did I get the right impression, or is my dad right on the money here?
I think it's too early to tell. You played 3 games now. I'd say half has been great. The other half has been mediocre. I'd say like mediocre by Barcelona standards. So Rayo was mediocre. The first half versus Real Sociedad, that was mediocre. The second half was great, and then Valladolid was great. That's the way I looked at it. Valladolid was a bloodbath. I don't even know what to say about that, other than the fact that was Barcelona just domination, complete domination. It wasn't even close. It was only one team on the field. Lewandowski was great. Those games are great also for you guys because they're huge for momentum shifts and confidence boosting.
Yeah,
everything was going right for you guys. What's the next game on the schedule? Do you guys have an easy schedule coming
Sevilla.
up? Sevilla. Okay, that's fine.
No. Especially with the Champions League draw, we don't have any fucking easy games coming up.
We didn't talk about that. So Sevilla's kind of been in a weird. They've been weird.
Yes.
This is not peak Sevilla we're talking about right now, but.
Correct.
But, Sanchez Pizjuan, and, they don't need to, they kind of are the team that they can just put some shit together at the Pizjuan and the crowd gets behind them. It can happen. That is actually a nice transition into Champions League group stages. A lot of Barca fans are quick to point out, I have TikTok now. Did you know that?
I did not. You're in the TikTok now.
I have TikTok. That's a different world, man. You just post something and it
is a different world.
You get like 10,000 views on a video. I had like 0 followers last week. Now I have like 350 followers. I'm not doing anything. Like I'm just posting
stuff. There you go.
So
all right. That's what you're supposed to do.
I posted one video about Barcelona's group stage, and I said, Barca are in big trouble if they don't qualify for the group stage, and I reiterated many times. And the problem with TikTok is you can't put full context. No matter what you say, it's going to be taken out of context because it's only like a minute long, so you can't. Anyways, Barca fans found it. They're not happy. Like, why aren't you talking about Real Madrid getting the easy group again? This is bullshit. And so, was talking about that. And we can talk about it.
It's a very easy group. I mean, that's true.
Yeah, but this is the thing. I have talked about it, by the way, but this is the thing with Real Madrid. We're going to struggle in that quote unquote easy group. We're going to claw our way out of it on the last match day. We're going to come second or some bullshit. And then we go through the difficult path from there on. We the last year was the PSG, Chelsea, City, Liverpool.
All the big ones.
Those were we had to go through all those, but the group stages is not what matters to us. We scrape by, we play like shit, and then it's what happens after for us. But for you guys, it's a bit more problematic. But I still think you guys will be okay. You guys will be okay. Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, on paper, I think so. I think you're right. I think Barca have got to be favorites to get out of the group. I'll leave favorites for first place to Bayern for obvious reasons,
which doesn't really matter if you come first or second that much, to be honest, but it might. I suppose it might, but
it could. It could. That kind of depends. And to be quite frank, I mean, against Inter Milan, we played them during the preseason, which was an interesting game. If I'm not mistaken, I think that finished up in a draw. Okay. I think that one finished in a draw. But an Italian team that are also a familiar foe along with Bayern, an opponent against who we have picked up positive results in recent years. that have now, I think, strengthened their squad to a degree where they want to, of course, reconquer the Serie A and take that belt away from their city neighbors and bitter rivals in AC Milan. So I don't know, how they're going to be during the group stage. I don't follow Serie A. I haven't followed the in-depth restructuring of Inter Milan. So I all I can say is that on paper, I would say that Barca have to be favorites to knock Inter out for that second spot,
for sure,
and advance to the group stage. I mean, you look at the players that Barca have acquired that we've got now in recent results. We see that things seem to be clicking. Like I said, the little that I saw, I've taken away a very good impression indeed of how Lewandowski is gelling and become a focal point of this team.
Yeah,
I think it's 4 goals in 3 games now as well. He's looking great. He's really sort of endeared himself as well to the local fans and to all the Barca fans, because I think he came sort of as a player that was described to us as a very sort of cold and distant player. And quite frankly, he's been the complete opposite. He's been very communicative with his teammates, with the fans as well. And that's even despite the fact that, he was sort of carjacked. I mean, the robbers tried to steal a watch right from his wrist as he stopped to sign autographs in his car, which sort of seems to be a common theme currently here in the beautiful city of Barcelona.
The Aubameyang story
well
is
wishes
terrifying.
to Aubameyang is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But that aside, on the topic of I was going to say Aubameyang, but I should wanted to refer to Rafinha, another player that seems to be excelling under Xavi's system, is a classic winger that really Xavi was looking for, putting in, very dangerous crosses and passes, interchanging and linking up very well with Dembélé as well, which I think is very interesting to see. Dembélé as well getting into a groove of his own, quite possibly the best Dembélé that we've seen so far, with maybe the exception of the second half of last season, where he, obviously ended up with 13 assists and played very well indeed. But we're seeing continuity perhaps in that Dembélé from last season that is healthy, that is professional, that has also become a leader of this team, which I think is important. I saw a stat earlier today where so far he's picked up more touches than in any of his prior seasons with Barca, also going to show just how important he is for the team and how he's being sought out by his players, more so becoming more of a protagonist than in prior seasons. And again, I'm highlighting the forwards because I think they are the highlight so far early on in this season, and good signs. So good signs, and given all that, you have to put Barca and in the favorites to, of course, advance to the latter stages. But this is the Champions League, and yes, this team is still unproven and has everything to prove on especially the biggest stage in football, which is the Champions League. So we will see what happens. And I think one of those big tests we passed in Real Sociedad. Another one will be in the Sanchez Pizjuán this upcoming Saturday, I believe. Yes, they play Saturday. And right around that time when the Champions League will start as well next week, which is an easy one for Barca, the easy introduction as we play Victoria Pilsen. So,
yeah. So I, it's interesting. Like with Bayern too. If you had to just said you're going to play Bayern this year, and you take Lewandowski off their team, put them on your team, that's a pretty good place to start in terms of bridging the gap in terms of your previous battles with them. But it's weird because Bayern, apart from that like draw against Mönchengladbach, and that's kind of
they're missing Lewandowski.
That's kind of their. No, I'm not going to say that. Probably they are, but they're that's kind of a team they drop points against anyway. But like, look at their results: 7-0, 2-0, 6-1, 5-3. They're just scoring goals and goals and goals and goals, and it's insane right now. It's insane. But you guys played them. Refresh my memory. You guys actually played them decently last year, didn't you? Under Xavi, I can't remember. You lost, but it wasn't. Yeah,
it was decent. It was decent.
Moral victory.
Bayern had already gone through. I think that has to be highlighted as well,
right?
And not necessarily all of the first team players played that game, but
when you were gone, and I did a solo podcast for patrons, it was right after the Real Sociedad game, I think. And something I mentioned was, in that game, I saw something that I hadn't seen in Barcelona since Messi left. And that was when you guys don't play well, when you guys weren't playing well, when Messi was still there, he could get you out of that mess single-handedly. And I kind of saw that against Real Sociedad. You guys have that now with Lewandowski, and also Ansu off the bench was great that game. Dembele has that ability too. So, against Valladolid, you guys played well and you had that. But I think at the very least, you have that now with we had that with Benzema for quite some time. We had that with Cristiano Ronaldo. Like there's teams that have the super duper stars. Things can just not go your way, but then you have individual moments of brilliance that can bail you out. You have that now with Lewandowski.
How do you? Sorry, how do you see the Champions League group play out? Do you reckon that we will be able to send Inter to the Europa League? I mean, I know that they got Lukaku back, right? Yeah, they got Lukaku back from Chelsea. So other than that, I don't know where they made significant acquisitions in trying to become a contender again for the Serie A. But yeah, how do you see the comparison, the matchup between Inter and Barca?
I haven't followed Inter that closely this season. I think they won 3 out of 4. They lost 3-1 against Lazio. Lukaku's played 3 games. He scored 1 goal. I have no idea what that means and how he'll recover, but he hasn't been good for a while now, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if this Inter is as good as the one that was 2 years ago. And so I don't know. But what I would expect, my prediction would be Bayern, Barca 1-2 in whatever order. And then Inter goes third. And then poor Victoria Pilsen. Right. Yeah. My hot take about Pilsen is that everyone's feeling sorry for them. Oh man, it sucks for them. They have to play the group of death. I think it's a good thing for them, don't you? They get to they're not going to get past the group stages anyway. You might as well have Bayern, Barca, and Inter come out to your home stadium and get a ton of experience and great atmosphere. Might as well.
And packed stadium, I mean, sell out tickets. It's if you're gonna have the big guns visit, you might as well have those 3 come visit your come town.
Might as well run the train, in town. Man. Get all 3 of them.
We'll get a train run on them. But it's a little bit crazy though. I mean, I will say I'm not going to sit here and talk about conspiracies, not today. But I don't know, man. It's a little bit crazy that these 3 teams were pulled in the same group. I don't know, and I'm not. Again, I'm not talking.
My heart bleeds, man. I'm not so talking sad.
Conspiracies. No, I'm not talking conspiracies. But do you think? All right, is it? For example, I mean, again, something that just popped in my head. Do you think it's? I am going to talk about conspiracies now. The fact that Bayern and Barca were pulled, it's the return of Lewandowski to the Allianz Arena, and Dortmund drew with City. The return of Haaland to his old club.
If there was conspiracies,
these kind of things are just.
If there was conspiracies, we would have drawn Cristiano Ronaldo by now. We never got to see Ronaldo back at the Bernabeu. We never got to see Messi return to the Camp Nou. If there was conspiracies, they would at least do it that way, I think.
No, listen, I'm not talking conspiracies, huh? I mean, because if anything, why would UEFA want to do, let's call it the head of the Super League, any favors, So I'm not signing on, and I haven't read anything. I just found it very coincidental that these 2 scenarios played out, and I don't know if it's what do you make of groups of deaths? I mean, do you think that the Champions League would benefit from having a more condensed amount of teams participate in their tournament, and therefore make all the groups a little bit more equal? Like when it comes to equality in these kind of groups, there really is none. You're either lucky or unlucky. You understand where I'm getting at? Do you think there should be a format where it is more of an equal level playing field for all the teams, and not just depending on sheer luck? Like if you draw 3 shite teams or 3 monsters?
Well, I think it's to the tournament's benefit from, if you're UEFA, to have as many big teams progress as deep into the competition as possible. Because in the quarterfinals, there are plenty of counter arguments to what I'm going to say. I'm not saying anything like right or wrong. I'm just saying that for ratings purposes, and a lot of people would argue, no, it's actually good for the sport. I wouldn't disagree with you, but like you don't want like a Porto Monaco final again. You want City versus Liverpool. The dream would be like Real Madrid versus Barcelona, something crazy like that, which has never happened before. But I think you want Barca, Inter, Bayern to go as far into the competition as possible. So I think if there was a conspiracy, I don't think they would actually want to see one of these teams out in the group stages if they could. Although, why? I don't know why we're pretending leave alone the kind of monster team anyway. Like they're not. It's not old Inter.
Yeah. Right. No, I know. And don't get me wrong, I don't even want to mention the word conspiracy. I more wanted to focus or aim my question at how do you think the UEFA could structure a more level playing field, in between groups?
I don't know if you need to, right? I mean, they go by pots, right? So who was in pot 3? So I think Barca was in pot 2, if I'm not mistaken. Bayern pot 1, Inter pot 3, something like that. So this is something also just a matter of the reason you guys, like the reason, for example, Inter got you guys is because it was very likely that Inter would have been in the group of death anyway, because they would have gotten someone from pot 1 who would have been guaranteed good, and probably someone also good in pot 2. So it's like if you're a strong team in pot 3, then you're almost guaranteed to form a group of death of some sorts. There's not really a way to avoid it, I don't think, Diego. Yeah, just leave it as it is, I would say.
It's a little bit. I guess I would just. If I would be in charge of organizing this turn, would just try to assure as level playing field as possible. It's not the same having to box against heavyweights as it is against featherweights. You know what I'm saying? A boxer that it's.
Well, my friend, you should have been better last year and been in pot 1 instead of being in pot 2.
I'm not just talking about Barca, but anyway, let's leave this shit. It's an interesting group. It's an interesting group.
It's a fun group, yeah, for sure.
For sure.
I wanted to ask you about something that I'm sure you've seen.
What's that, boy?
While you were away, the whole Griezmann thing, he's being
oh my gosh,
played off the bench strategically, so the clause doesn't get activated. What are your thoughts on that?
Let's talk. Let's talk.
You want me to start?
Let's. No. I, that would be my. If I would be in charge of Barca right now.
Oh, okay.
If I'm sitting in Joan Laporta's chair and I see what is happening to Gil Manzano, no. Who's the? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I would say, I see what you're doing. Let's renegotiate. Maybe not 40. Maybe 35 mil. Maybe 30. Oh, I think, when you and we discussed this transfer or loan spell, I think I seem to remember us sort of both being quite baffled at this 40 million that Barca would receive after 2 years. It seemed like almost too good to be true when the papers were reporting it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it still seems that way. And I completely understand how Atletico are like, dude, we're not gonna pay that.
They're within their rights. I mean, they're not doing anything illegal. There was a report today that Griezmann
sucks for him.
Yeah, but look he dug his own grave, man. He did the whole decision thing, pretended he was LeBron James. He goes to Barcelona, which made no sense because Messi was already there in his position. And then he just eventually lost form. He lost confidence. Atletico, out of their minds, also dug their own grave with this because for some reason they agreed to bring him back, which also made no sense. Everybody lost. And Barca lost. And now if this... As a Real Madrid fan looking in, it's like great because Atletico is being petty. And from a sporting perspective, if they need Griezmann's help, who scored, by the way, against Valencia... they're not using him to help their team, and Barcelona are not benefiting because they're not getting this clause activated. So, as a Real Madrid fan, this is a win-win for us. But it's just a crazy, really weird situation. I don't. At first, when the first two games came out, when he was playing 29 minutes, I was like, "All right, probably not, but maybe it's a coincidence." But now it's clear. Like this is what's happening. It's
very clear.
It's incredible. It's incredible that it's come to this.
So again, my approach would be, knock on the door, pick up the phone, and say, "Let's renegotiate this contract," because I don't think it's in either, as you mentioned, in either party's interest or all three parties' interest, the current situation. Yeah. Barca are not going to end up with the money or any money. I don't know exactly the numbers that could possibly still land at Can Barca at this rate. Atletico are not making use of a very talented player, which he is, a World Cup champion. And Griezmann, of course, is just in this limbo, stuck in between two clubs with the World Cup coming up and not getting the continuity and the minutes that he would, want and need in lead up of this tournament, but also just for his own pride's sake and feeling, like a pawn really, and instead of like a player. So that's got to be frustrating for him. I'm a little bit surprised we haven't heard from him. Whether it's through his own decision to maybe talk to the media or leak something to the media, because it seems like he's sort of just, I don't know, if he's playing ball, maybe I've missed something, maybe something has come out, but it seems like kind of Griezmann is rolling with it at the moment, and I hope it's not the demise of a very talented player as well, that we just sort of see Antoine Griezmann now fizzle out into, a Bale, a Hazard. No, I don't know. But you understand what I'm saying.
L'Equipe reported today that Griezmann has asked Atletico to literally call Barca and renegotiate it, so that. Oh
right, okay. So I didn't know that. Was not aware of that. All right, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and they obviously had reported the obvious, which was Simeone has been told by the Atletico board to not play Griezmann more than these amount of minutes, so that the clause doesn't get activated. And,
sure.
Yeah. Although, look, if your hair is green and yellow and blue, maybe you deserve to not play. Don't know. Stop. Just throwing it out there.
Don't tell Rodman that. Don't tell Rodman that.
Well, Rodman can get away with it because he's Dennis Rodman.
That's true. And he's a fucking beast. And he performed every single goddamn night.
Yeah.
And then went out and then performed the next night. But, okay. Dude, crazy shit happened in the transfer market. I mean,
what happened? I don't even know.
I know a lot of our listeners were against the Super League, but what is happening in the Premier League is it's Super League style. I mean, it's like Newcastle doing what we all expected Newcastle to do, and that is throw insane money at talented players. But 70 million for Isaac is that was his buyout clause, wasn't it? So good for Real Sociedad.
Real Sociedad that was a good deal.
Check. Yeah, for sure. I'm a big Isaac fan. Loved him even more, of course, after he scored those 2 goals against Madrid in the Copa del Rey. Oh, culé again, taking joy in seeing Madrid.
Bias,
so petty,
MF.
so petty. But I hope to see him flourish in a team like Newcastle, I know nothing about. I have no idea the project, the sporting project that is currently taking place there, other than fucking let's throw that money against the wall. Let's see what sticks. And you're seeing Chelsea now spending 80 mil on a on 81 million, I think it was, on a defender. You're seeing 100 mil for Anthony
on
from
like
Ajax.
100 defenders they're buying for
right.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And now City as well, reportedly close to making another massive, multi-million-dollar deal, getting it done. I mean, the Premier League is just insane, man. And then PSG, of course. I mean, fucking snatching Soler away from Valencia was demoralizing for me as well. I'm not no soy che. I'm not a Valencia supporter, but I do want to see, as I always say in this pod, Valencia form part of the La Liga heavyweights and regain that status that they had at the turn of the millennium. And it just seems impossible, man, because talents keep getting snatched away. I know that we Barca have been also on the forefront of taking away very talented players from Valencia, but at least we kept them in La Liga. Now,
yeah, but you guys basically got those guys for free. Meanwhile, if we put like a 1 billion offer for for Musa, they'd be like no. But then they'd just turn around and give you Musa for free.
But so yeah, PSG. I think they signed the Soler and another big one. I think they let Paredes go. I gotta check this out. Hold on. But yeah, as I'm checking this out, Kiyan, your thoughts on the transfer market at the moment? Do you have any?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't think any of these players are worth that amount of money. And people will say the rebuttal is, no, man, it is the market. They're worth what the market pays for. Correct. But if I'm a president and I have that kind of money, I'm not spending 70 million on Isaac. I'm not spending 90 million for Anthony. I'm just not. And I have literally said I wouldn't even spend 55, 65 million on Rafinha. That one is a bit more controversial, I guess. But so La Liga teams have a chance to at least be smart about it.
48, huh?
Every day it's lower, whatever. Rafinha.
No, Marca reported 48. I haven't changed.
Right, let's see what let's see what it's going to be next week.
Marca.
All right.
All right.
Marca is reputable for this, but not for other things, I guess. But
no, it just surprises me that Marca are the ones that put it out there. Before it was 50, I think it was 56 with 10 million in add-on, and then Marca said no, it's 48 with 10 in add-on. So again,
Laporta
Madridista
buying our newspapers too, man. Anyway, so Real Sociedad are going to be smart about it. They got 70 million. I believe they got Sorloth and Umar Sadiq, different type of player to Isaac, but pretty good player, pretty good striker, very proven in Segunda, and has had off to a decent start in La Liga. So La Liga teams just need to be smart about it. There could be a trickle down effect with the money coming in, and they can just rebuild, but at the same time, it is worrying for sure. I don't want these La Liga teams to turn into FC Porto and Benfica, with all due respect to them, where they're just producing talent and flipping them for a profit. There's nothing wrong with that model, of course, but La Liga has always been a different standard of that, where they could actually keep their star players, and that hasn't been the case anymore. So yeah, I'm worried about it.
Fabian Ruiz was the other player that PSG just announced. Sorry.
Really?
Very talented Spanish midfielder for Napoli.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. Another 23 mil, just like that. Opa.
Oh, yesterday.
But the reason I brought this up, Kiyan, is, and it's a topic that, of course, you and I have discussed so often and continue to discuss, is just the math doesn't add up necessarily, right? And the whole debate for the anti-Super League camp was football's for the fans and the money and meritocracy, etc. But how can UEFA justify the money that continues to be spent by the PSGs and now, PSG, the Qatar Saint-Germain, and
because it benefits them.
now Newcastle as well, right? I mean, how can Newcastle justify 70 mil like that? I mean,
You're 100% right, but we all know the reason why. It's because UEFA are getting money in their pockets and they're not being affected negatively by this. So if it benefits UEFA, they're not going to care so much what happens, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, let's protest the Super League in masses and riots and get outside the stadium and make a point, and everyone backs out of it. And meanwhile, if your club is inherited by a gajillionaire, we saw Newcastle fans out in the street wearing turbans and doing beards and putting on cloaks in celebration of that ownership. So I'm not
tasteful.
I'm not the one who's going to. Again, I told many times. I think it was correct to protest the Super League. So I want to make that clear. That Super League sucks, but something needs to happen regardless, like to balance this out. And until there is some kind of parity or rules enforced with this, it's going to get out of hand. But the problem is, like, people keep on bringing FFP needs to be actually used and hold people accountable. But the problem is people don't understand. FFP was never meant to quote unquote make it fair or unfair. The only thing FFP does is to make sure that your club's spending can be funded. In which case, PSG's and Newcastle's and all this can be backed up and funded. And so that's why they can technically get away with it. So, I mean, I see Newcastle kind of where City were like years ago.
Is that true?
From what I understand.
No. I don't think that's 100% accurate. Financial fair play also took into account sort of the amount of revenue that a club, like the income that a club makes, and there has to be a balance between what a club brings in and what it spends.
But if your company, so in PSG's case, if they can prove that their company and they're making this much money and they can balance it out with that, they can basically just inject money into it, right, to balance it out. That's the point that they can do. Whereas a Barcelona and Real Madrid can't do that because they're publicly owned.
Yeah.
And obviously.
Did you see? Sorry, finish that.
No, go for it.
Have you seen El Caso Figo yet?
No, not yet. It's on my list.
So that's one thing I have seen.
You have seen that? Okay.
We got
to talk about it, but I need to watch it.
I was all over that.
Yeah.
We got to do a special one.
Yeah,
we got to do a special one. Yeah.
We do.
You got to watch it, man. I can't believe you haven't watched it yet.
I know. I'm gonna throw it on very soon. I'm gonna throw it on this week.
I was excited. Like, I felt like the excitement and the jitters like I did when the Last Dance was announced. I was like,
I've heard good things. Yeah, my dad watched it. He texted me immediately. But no, that needs its own episode.
Yeah, it needs its own episode.
Yeah. That's an entire episode by itself, a standalone. You got to give me my Real Madrid headline and a segment of Real Madrid here. Can you throw me something?
No doubt. Jesus. Casemiro leaving. I know that's obviously old news, but great deal, I think, for Madrid.
Well,
you guys bought Tchouaméni.
We've essentially funded Tchouaméni with a player who's much older.
Correct. And a player that, from what I read, also at the end of last season after winning the Champions League and Liga, told his agent, I think that my time at Madrid is up. So you're also getting a player off the squad list that had his belly full, let's say, and kind of needed new challenges.
Are some conspiracies about
different motivation. Okay.
So one member of our Managing Madrid staff, Lucas, says he thinks that that was that quote in his farewell press conference about having made up his mind was a PR thing that he had to say, because the real story is something more like Real Madrid bought Tchouaméni. They didn't play Casemiro in the first game of the season. They started Tchouaméni instead. And Casemiro was like, I don't know if they believe in me. This new kid on the block is here. They paid him 80 million plus. And,
which is true.
Yeah, and he looked around.
You can't keep that on the bench. Well, that was my first question to you was, how are you going to justify 80 millies on the bench?
Yeah, well, the argument was always...
I mean, you have Hazard on the bench, but...
Well, yeah, but Hazard didn't come to be on the bench. He ended up on the bench for various different reasons throughout the years. But, yeah, I mean, he's not a bench player. That's the thing. People...
Yeah.
Now, the theory was, okay, well, Tchouaméni will start many games. He doesn't start every game, but he starts many games, and Casemiro rotates in and out of the team with him. And then Tchouaméni gets incorporated gently, just like Camavinga did. And so that was the argument. But this is a common question that fans had was, why did we even sign Tchouaméni for that much money if he's not going to play, if he's not going to start behind Casemiro? Yeah. And so eventually I think everybody in that sense got their wish. But there are a lot of people upset. So there are various opinions about this whole thing, Diego. One is that when you see the Manchester United is spending 90 million on Anthony, why is Casemiro only 90 million, right?
100.
Was it 100?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
100.
But while that's true, it is also the...
And why are Chelsea offering a low-balling Barca for De Jong and United? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think that part of it does frustrate La Liga fans, right? Okay, Premier League spending is out of control, but then when it comes to buying really good players from our teams, why are they only selling for this much? However, the counter to that is, to be quite honest with you, I think it's still good business. And if you look at the list of 30-plus-year-olds who have been sold in football history, Casemiro's number 2 all-time in the list for the amount they got for him. Number 1 was Cristiano Ronaldo. Casemiro's second most anyone's ever gotten for 30 million in football history, for a 30-year-old in football history.
I'm surprised that I thought Madridistas would be delighted. Sort of, hard pressed to see such a reference in that position leave, and what I imagine is a fan favorite, an idol, and beloved by teammates. Clearly, I mean, look at the messages that Kroos, Modric, etc. put out there.
For sure,
the proper farewell that he got, and well deserved. But I would imagine they would have been like, oh, that's great business. We're okay with this.
I think it was
not so
gutting.
Much then.
No, I think it was gutting to lose him as a figure as well. Like, he was extremely well loved by everyone.
Yeah,
fans and a lot of fans were annoyed with him for certain things on the field sometimes, but his character was never questioned.
How he never picked up a fucking red card. Yeah, that was really annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, to me, Real Madrid has generally been good with detaching themselves from emotion when it comes to things like this. They said, okay, if you want to leave, you can go. They left the door open. They got a ton of money for him. And again, they essentially funded the guy who's his replacement, who is much younger, and is the guy who's supposed to do this, carry the mantle now for a few years. And now pressure's on Tchouaméni, and I think he's done well so far. So, yeah.
Casemiro. I'm going to miss him.
Oh, can you do a Casemiro freestyle rap? Like a next freestyle rap, but in Casemiro's accent? Can you do that?
Yeah, I saw that. I can do that. Oh, I'm down to do something like that.
Right,
I like to pay tribute to Casemiro. Hamaji. One last one. Hazard. Is this the breakout season for the Belgian?
No. I have no hope.
Yes. Good.
And Asensio staying now.
There's your title.
Asensio stays. Hazard washed. This week's churros.
Asensio staying?
Yeah, this is the latest on the block.
What is it? There's 4 more hours left. they'll squeeze like a surprising 60 something mil for Asensio.
No one's paying not even half that for Asensio. No one.
Newcastle be like, fuck it.
It would have happened by now, man, if that was on the table, and if Asensio wanted to do that. Right. It's not happening.
Wow.
Good for him. I mean, financially,
you really want to get rid of him, huh?
I don't want to get rid of him, but I've said this many times. I'm apathetic towards Asensio because he's not exciting. He's not an exciting player to me anymore, and he doesn't do enough. He doesn't contribute nearly as much as Rodrigo or Fede. But as like a third option right winger, he's also fine to have in the squad. I don't want to kick him out but to me, like I've said this many times, I want to promote Sergio Arribas from the youth team, and give him more minutes, and that's not going to happen with Asensio here either. I also think from a financial perspective, Asensio was smart to not leave right now, because if he stays and leaves next year as a free agent, he's going to get a signing bonus. Probably.
More money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So he's smart. I don't blame him for wanting to stay. I don't blame anyone for any of the decisions you make. Everyone in the fan base hates Mariano Diaz for refusing to leave. If I'm Mariano Diaz and I'm getting paid millions to train with Real Madrid every day, fuck, what am I going to do? I'm probably going to refuse to leave too. Don't blame him.
We're getting into sensitive territory here, with the Braithwaites and other players.
What's the latest on him?
Fall into that camp.
He hasn't been in the news for a few days.
No, I mean the latest that I read was that the club is basically ready to buy him out, and that's sort of, that's obviously nothing official, but that's what I read in either Sport or Mundo Deportivo.
Did you see Umtiti getting emotional in front of the Lecce fans?
Yeah. Yeah, man. And stuff like that breaks my heart at the end of the day, because also Ansu with his message to Umtiti. And, I think we often forget that these players are people and are more likely than not suffering more than what we expect, behind the scenes. And we talked about the boos and the whistles aimed at certain players during the preseason, and when you see it, Umtiti after so many years. Well, I mean, this was upon his arrival at the airport, so he got. But when you see Umtiti, being embraced by fans and upon arrival, get so emotional and literally melt down, it kind of like, I think it's got to put things into perspective, and we do have to have some sort of sympathy. Towards players and the position that they are in. And I say that very well aware of the fact that as a Barca fan, there are, of course, certain things that I, from a fan perspective, want to happen, wish to happen for the benefit of my club, but not necessarily to the detriment of those players, personally, in particular, because, I don't know any of these players personally, but, I have enough respect for them as people and their personal lives to, of course, not wish any harm or bad upon them. And when you see an Umtiti, again, get so emotional that I think we need to take some time to also take that in and reflect upon that. And when we cast such a public judgment upon one player when we're 100,000, seated in a stadium.
Well, he also didn't do anything wrong from what I remember.
No, and he wasn't, Umtiti was not,
he
after his contract renewal.
Or a deferral.
I don't know if it was deferred. A deferral, and extended his contract. He didn't play in the Gamper, so he hasn't been out in front of the Lions, so to speak, for quite some time. So he wasn't presented that day. He wasn't out there. Yeah. But clearly, very affected by everything that he had to live through during his time nursing an injury and not feeling like a football player, I would imagine.
Yeah. How old is he? 28.
very young, man.
Still
Like
got time.
you look at Umtiti, you don't expect him to be below his 30s, but and that's just not because of his physical appearance, because I do believe he looks older than 28. But if I feel like Umtiti's been around so long, I would I would put him at 32. But yeah, he's 28.
Wish him the best.
Still a player left in it. Yep.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it here?
Just we'll no longer talk about Ricky Puig, I guess. Now a Galaxy player.
He had a great assist. Did you see the assist?
No.
He had an amazing assist to Chicharito. Really good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Great assist.
There we go.
You should look it up. It's a great, fantastic assist. I could never see, like, no way Gavi or Pedri could do that. You guys missed out, man. You should have let the pros. You should have let Puig just stay and be a spy. It would have been worth the trade-off. He said some stuff. I don't know if you were away.
I hope he's not going to say he said some stuff.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember if this was while you were away or while you were here. He said some stuff, but he definitely talked some smack on his way out.
Yes, he did.
I don't know if he talked, but it was like basically confirmation that like Koeman was probably right. This whole thing, like.
Yeah.
But I mean, LA Galaxy, man, of all places. Whatever, good for him.
Yeah, crazy. I didn't expect that.
If you have money in LA, it's a fun place to live. If you don't have money in LA,
yeah,
it's not.
but what does it say about? He in those statements you talked about where he alluded to some of the current players on the Barca squad. He also talked about him having offers from like Milan and Chelsea where he was going to earn double, but he didn't want to leave Barca in the city of Barcelona. And then he goes to LA Galaxy with all respects to, I think, a team that is still a mid-table tier team in the US and MLS. It's like, dude, what does that say about his ambition as a player? I don't really know. It still puzzles me that transfer and his decision in the end.
Yeah, I mean it's rare to see someone that young go to the MLS, right?
Yeah.
But hey, I think the Americans are happy. In Toronto,
sure.
we've had the benefit. In Toronto, we've had the benefit of getting a lot of players in their peak, like Giovinco, who carried us to the MLS title that year. And then who did we sign? We have Insigne, don't we? Insigne is at TFC now too. So yeah, it's kind of cool when if you're the team receiving a player who's still kind of young and not like past their prime.
No, of course, I get it.
Yeah. All right, man. So are we going to be back Friday for patrons?
Yep, back Friday.
All right. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. Catch us there for the more raw version. It gets more raw than this, believe it or not. Yeah. So if you want access to that, Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. Diego, thanks, my man. It was fun. It's nice having you back, man.
Missed you. Yeah, man. Likewise, for sure. Missed you guys.